Welcome to the True Lines podcast, where we delve into the wisdom and wit of one of America's most beloved authors, Mark Twain. In this series, we'll explore some of his most famous and insightful quotes, and discuss how they apply to our lives today. From his humorous quips to his more serious observations on life, Mark Twain's words have stood the test of time and continue to resonate with readers and listeners around the world. Join me as we explore the many facets of this literary icon and the timeless wisdom he has to offer. Our first quote of the day comes from Mark Twain, who once said, "If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything." This quote by Mark Twain means that if you always tell the truth, you don't have to worry about remembering what you said or keeping your stories straight. When you lie, you have to remember the details of your story, and it can be challenging to keep everything consistent. However, if you always tell the truth, you don't have to worry about getting caught in a lie or being inconsistent, because you are being honest and straightforward. In other words, telling the truth simplifies things and makes life easier in the long run. As we navigate the challenges of modern life, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. But according to Mark Twain, the key to a happy life can be found in a few simple things. Here's what he said. "Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience, this is the ideal life." This quote is attributed to Mark Twain, and it suggests that the ideal life is one that involves good friends, good books, and a peaceful conscience. Having good friends implies having people in your life who support and care for you, and who you can trust and rely on. Good books offer intellectual stimulation, knowledge, and inspiration. They can broaden your horizons, introduce you to new ideas, and help you to grow as a person. A sleepy conscience refers to having a clear conscience and being at peace with yourself. When you have done nothing wrong, you can sleep soundly at night, without any worries or regrets. Together, these three elements, good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience, create an ideal life that is fulfilling, meaningful, and satisfying. Moving on to our next quote, this one is another gem from Mark Twain, who had a unique perspective on being part of the majority. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform, or pause and reflect. This quote by Mark Twain suggests that simply being part of the majority does not necessarily make something right or just. Twain is encouraging people to pause and reflect on their beliefs and actions when they find themselves in agreement with the majority. The quote implies that blindly following the majority without questioning their beliefs or actions is not a wise decision. Instead, it is essential to take a step back and assess whether the majority's views align with your personal beliefs and values. In other words, being part of the majority does not automatically make something right or just, and one should pause and reflect on their beliefs and actions to ensure that they are in line with their personal values and morals. An example of this quote can be seen in history, when the majority of people believed in slavery and considered it to be morally acceptable. During that time, those who questioned and spoke out against the institution of slavery were a minority. However, these individuals who went against the majority's beliefs and challenged the system of slavery were the ones who brought about social change and reformed society's attitudes towards slavery. Similarly, in modern times, we can see many examples of people who questioned the majority's beliefs and practices and brought about positive changes in society. For instance, the civil rights movement in the U.S. led by Martin Luther King Jr. challenged the majority's beliefs and practices of racial segregation, discrimination, and inequality. Their movement paved the way for reforms and progress toward racial equality and justice. Mark Twain was a lifelong reader who valued the power of knowledge. In this quote, he makes a clear point about the importance of reading. Here's what he said. "The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read." This quote by Mark Twain highlights the importance of reading and its advantages. It suggests that not reading at all is equivalent to not being able to read, and both situations are disadvantageous. If someone cannot read, they lack the ability to access information and knowledge that can help them grow, learn, and improve their lives. Similarly, if someone chooses not to read, they are also missing out on the same benefits that reading provides. The quote implies that reading is essential for personal growth, knowledge, and understanding, and not reading can put one at a disadvantage in terms of opportunities, learning, and personal development. Therefore, the quote encourages people to recognize the value of reading and to make it a habit in their lives to gain the advantages that come with it. We all have tasks that we'd rather not do, but according to Mark Twain, there's no need to rush into action. In this quote, he suggests that there's a certain freedom in delaying tasks until the last possible moment. Here's what he said. Never put off till tomorrow what may be done day after tomorrow, just as well. This quote by Mark Twain suggests that procrastination is not a good habit, and it is better to complete tasks as soon as possible rather than delaying them. In today's era, where we are constantly bombarded with distractions and have a multitude of tasks to complete, this quote holds even more relevance. For instance, imagine you have an important project due in a week, and you have been putting it off for several days. You keep telling yourself that you will start it tomorrow or the day after, thinking that you have plenty of time. However, before you know it, the deadline is looming, and you find yourself scrambling to complete the project, causing unnecessary stress and anxiety. On the other hand, if you had started the project as soon as you received it, you could have broken it down into smaller tasks and completed them gradually, without feeling overwhelmed. You would have had time to review and revise the project, ensuring a high-quality output, and you would have had peace of mind knowing that you completed it well before the deadline. In today's fast-paced world, where time is a precious commodity, it is crucial to make the most of it by being proactive and completing tasks promptly, rather than delaying them. By following this approach, we can avoid unnecessary stress and anxiety, and ensure that we are using our time effectively and efficiently. Many of us have experienced the frustration of feeling like our education was incomplete or inadequate. But according to Mark Twain, true learning is a lifelong pursuit that extends beyond the classroom. Here's what he said. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. This quote by Mark Twain may seem paradoxical at first glance, but it actually highlights the difference between formal education and self-education. What Twain meant by this quote is that although he attended school and received a formal education, he did not let the limitations of his schooling interfere with his desire to continue learning and growing as a person. In other words, Twain recognized that formal education was just one aspect of learning and that there was much more to be gained through self-education and life experiences. He did not allow himself to be limited by the curriculum or structure of his formal education and continued to learn and explore outside of the classroom. This quote is still relevant today, as it emphasizes the importance of lifelong learning and personal growth. We should not let our formal education limit our desire to learn and explore new ideas and experiences. We should always be curious and open-minded, seeking knowledge and growth in all aspects of our lives, both inside and outside the classroom. In summary, this quote encourages us to not only rely on formal education but to continue learning and growing throughout our lives, through self-education and experiences. Have you ever felt pressure to read a classic book simply because it's seen as an important work of literature? Mark Twain had a perspective on this phenomenon that's both humorous and insightful. Here's what he said. Classic, a book which people praise and don't read. This quote by Mark Twain is a humorous commentary on how many people consider certain books to be classics without actually having read them. Twain is suggesting that people often praise classic books simply because they are considered important or significant works of literature, without actually taking the time to read and appreciate them for themselves. This quote also highlights the tendency for people to use the term classic as a way of demonstrating their literary knowledge or sophistication, rather than as a genuine appreciation for the book's content and value. In essence, Twain is poking fun at the pretentiousness and superficiality of some people's attitudes towards literature. He is suggesting that it is important to read and appreciate books for their own merits, rather than simply because they are considered classics. Mark Twain was known for his wit and wisdom, and in this quote, he offers a perspective on death that's both inspiring and thought-provoking. Here's his famous words. "The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time." In this quote, Mark Twain is expressing his perspective on the relationship between life and death. He suggests that the fear of death is a result of a fear of fully living life. According to Twain's point of view, if we live life fully, embracing all its ups and downs, joys and sorrows, we will be better prepared to face death when it comes. By living life to the fullest, we can be at peace with the inevitability of death and not be afraid of it. Twain's perspective suggests that those who do not live life fully are more likely to fear death, because they have not experienced all that life has to offer. They may have regrets about things they did not do or experiences they missed out on, leading to a sense of unfulfillment and fear of dying before they can make up for it. Overall, Twain's point of view encourages us to embrace life and live it fully, so we can be prepared for death and not be afraid of it. It reminds us that life is a precious gift, and we should make the most of it while we have it. Have you ever struggled with the question of whether to be honest or withhold the truth from someone? Mark Twain offers a perspective on this issue that's both practical and insightful. Here's his famous quote. "Never tell the truth to people who are not worthy of it." This quote by Mark Twain suggests that we should be careful about who we choose to share the truth with. He is saying that we should only share the truth with those who are worthy of it. At first glance, this quote may seem harsh or unemotional, but upon deeper reflection, it reveals Twain's concern for the emotional impact that truth-telling can have on both the person sharing the truth and the person receiving it. Twain is recognizing that truth can be a powerful tool, and it can have both positive and negative effects on people's lives. Therefore, he is suggesting that we should only share the truth with people who are deserving of it and who can handle it in a responsible and respectful way. From a deeper emotional perspective, Twain's quote may suggest that the truth is a precious commodity that should not be shared lightly. Sharing the truth can be a vulnerable and emotionally charged experience, and we should only share it with those who have earned our trust and respect. In summary, Twain's quote may be seen as an expression of his concern for emotional well-being and the importance of being careful and responsible with the truth. It reminds us to be mindful of the impact our words can have on others and to use truth-telling in a way that is respectful and meaningful. Well, we've reached the final quote of the day, and that is, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes." This quote by Mark Twain highlights the power and speed of misinformation and falsehoods, as well as the slower and more deliberate pace of truth and accuracy. From a philosophical perspective, this quote can be seen as an observation on the nature of knowledge and the spread of information. It suggests that lies and falsehoods can spread quickly and easily, without regard for accuracy or truthfulness, while the pursuit of truth requires careful investigation and reflection. The quote also implies that the spread of falsehoods can have a significant impact on people's lives and beliefs, while the pursuit of truth requires patience and diligence. This idea is supported by the metaphor of the lie traveling halfway around the world, suggesting that the falsehood has a much greater reach and impact than the slower, more methodical pursuit of truth. Moreover, this quote can be interpreted as a call to action for individuals to take greater care in verifying information before sharing it. It reminds us that misinformation can have real-world consequences, and that it is important to prioritize the pursuit of truth over the spread of falsehoods. In summary, this quote by Mark Twain can be seen as a philosophical commentary on the power and impact of lies and the importance of the pursuit of truth. It reminds us of the need for careful investigation and reflection in the pursuit of knowledge, and the responsibility we have to verify information before sharing it with others. That's all for today's episode of True Lines. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review so that more people can discover our show. And if you're a fan of Mark Twain, be sure to check out our other episodes.